Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today we're going to be reacting to Lisa's video about a Twitter post she made that went quite viral. And it has to do with the TR, the toxic ritualistic world. If you don't know what that is, there's a link in my description to tell you what that is. But it is how I codedly talk about E followed by the letter D, particularly BINGE. Okay. So this thread or this post that Lisa makes is about Hinge overall. And it was very upsetting to a lot of people. So we're going to be covering it. Before we get started though, I just want to say welcome to my daily video moment again. This is probably the last January I'm going to do this. So you better enjoy it. It's a part of the maintenance phase. So we are launching a new phase on the channel where I'm going to be yapping at you guys every single day until February 1st, basically. Members will be Saturday videos, so members only will be Saturdays. But all the other days, we will be here for everybody, and we're going to go forever. And I want to support you guys as you embark on this journey this year. If you guys are returning to downsizing, if you guys are starting a journey, whatever it is that you guys are doing, I am concluding a journey. So this is the end of my major weight loss moment, or time period. This is the end of a year's long journey. And I felt like it would be good to talk to you guys the whole way through as I am experiencing a lot of anhedonia and maintenance. And keeping busy will keep me on track in maintenance. So we will help each other this January. Okay? But we're basically starting now. So I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody. I have all the highest hopes for everybody. Let's do this. Let's knock it out of the park. And I hope you'll join me. I really do. But let's get started.
Okay, guys, we're back, and we're back unexpectedly because I had planned to do a different video. I mean, I've been putting it off. I have to do a video detailing my health journey and all these other things and how I cured my PCOS. But like, guys, it's hard and it's a lot of notes I'm gonna try to take and get that ready for you. So, in the meantime, let's talk about how I went viral on Twitter yet again. But this time, my worlds are colliding. My anti-fat activism world on YouTube and my just general life on Twitter, now known as X. And yeah, I've worked very hard to keep my X life separate from my YouTube life. And it is today that I risk those two worlds colliding even further. But basically what happened was I went viral on Twitter for writing a anti-fat acceptance rant explaining the toxic ritualistic behaviors of that the IS order. You know all about it. You watch Graphically Alex. Give him full credit for educating me on
Hey,
this.
shout out.
We were laughing about it earlier, so we were thinking like, oh my gosh, she's stealing material from Alex. So no, he doesn't care. He's happy it's gone viral. But
Yeah,
yeah, but
scoops.
so everything I'm going to tell you about this.
Yeah, so my biggest thing, like obviously you can give me credit, obviously. But for me, it's more about the impact. Personally, I just want this to change. So it's okay, basically. It's an activistic thing. It's important that the message gets out there and it's important that people know about it in general. It's more important than me personally benefiting from it because I just want people to understand because I didn't create the problem. The problem created me. No, I'm just kidding, but not. But it's like I just gave it a name and I used the quality of obsessiveness that I have to basically dismantle it or like put it all together and talk about it in a way that puts it on blast, basically, because of how much I hate it. And it does its best in secrecy. So the more people that know about it, the better. And you just we gotta get the message out there. So I appreciate Lisa for for doing that. I really do. I don't think she expected it to go viral, but she dealt with the backlash from it. You know, I can't handle every single backlash that could ever happen because people do hate it when you expose the issue, especially people that have it, and people on the BINGE side of it, they're not used to being exposed. We're used to always talking about the other ones, so we don't ever talk about that one. They almost act like it doesn't exist. So they're not used to it, and they really lash out. They really do, at least verbally. So yeah, I appreciate Lisa for taking the hate. She got a lot of hate too.
Has to do with Alex. But yeah, anyways, I went viral on X for this very long I guess like it was a rant, but it's an essay I wrote. I write essays on X and yeah, before I show you anything that happened, we react to this. You gotta take a bow first, okay, guys? If you want to find me on Twitter, you can. Code of silence. Don't tell them I have a YouTube channel. Thank you. Not that I'm embarrassed or anything of this channel, but I just kind of like want to be myself, and I don't want an extra like 2,000 people on there that follow me to interact with the 2,000 people on here. It's like, I know it's weird. It's weird to like go viral on.
Well, I think that the two platforms are really different. And also, I think the topics are different. So it makes sense to me. You know, I wouldn't mind if you guys are on TikTok when I do my spiritual talks on TikTok. I wouldn't mind if spiritual people from TikTok came on to hear it. But they're very different platforms. It's super, super different. So, yeah. That's basically all I can say about it. So I understand because I have another, you know, I do that there where I talk about it. Like I was talking about Jupiter and Cancer and stuff like that and how it's affecting the cultural vibe of women and how a lot of women are arguing about where to move forward with the new Pluto and Capricorn. So it's like I talk about all that stuff. So it doesn't quite relate, you know? But I just needed that space because I needed to have a place for that. And there's like such a hunger for that on TikTok, or people really enjoy that type of thing on TikTok. So it works. And then YouTube is basically where anti-fat acceptance lives. So that's honestly where I talk about this, you know, basically. So it worked. So I understand, you know, that might happen to me too, because especially if you have a different niche on a different platform, and then the platforms are also different. So I get that. All I'm saying is that I get it.
Two separate social media platforms without them being connected. But yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. I'm going to show you the video first that I was responding to, because what happened was I had a friend, she messaged me and she's like, Lisa, I know you know a lot about fat acceptance. What do you think about this video on X? And it's basically Disney adults, but they're all quite large. And she was like, is there like a correlation between people who like indulge in this cringe behavior and people who are very, very fat? And first of all, look behind me. You can see Star Wars on this side, Taylor Swift on this side. Clearly, I have my own cringe hobbies. Some cringe is acceptable. And then there's making cringe your entire life. Okay, there's a difference. There's a difference, and that's something that happens with.
I'm not gonna lie. There have been phases of my life where I've been so obsessed with Taylor that I've considered like making a platform talking about Taylor. But the reason I didn't do that is because I don't have common Swiftie takes, and you know how Swifties are. We all know how they are. So it's like, unless if I wanted to just get on there and fight every single day, because there's a lot of stuff that I have to say about Taylor, or that I have to say about things. Like I know, for example, Taylor lies a lot, and I will call her out on her lies. And a lot of Swifties, they hate that. So they're always like, no, if she said it, it's true. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, for example, in the documentary, I haven't watched the whole thing. I'm going to watch more tomorrow. But, because I'm watching it with my cousin, she acts like, and they have put this out as a press statement, they act like Taylor and Travis, they act like they have never had a fight. That is such fucking bullshit. That is such a lie. Such a lie. In the documentary, it's like so fake. the way that they talk on there. I'm like, I have like a Taylor Swift BS detector. So when I watch her, I'm like, oh, I know that she's lying about this. And then this, I'm like, oh, she's honest. Most of the documentary, I've seen the first two, they're honest, except the Travis stuff. I'm like, they were fighting. They were fucking fighting. You know they were fighting. I know they fought with the Super Bowl thing when he lost and all that. There's no way. She was so pissed. You could see it on her face. I mean, she's a decent liar. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. If you actually know Taylor, like if you pay attention, which again, I am very obsessed, so I get that I'm crazy, but I'm just saying, I can't say that take on like, if on Twitter or something. I can't do it because people would get all pissed because they don't like it if I don't go along with Taylor's propaganda, which I will say Taylor is a propagandist. Like she is. She has a narrative and a message that she puts out there, and it's all bullshit. The same thing, sorry, I'm going to stop, I promise, after this. The same thing with the folklore when she did that little documentary. She acted like her and Joe were amazing and doing great. They were doing horrible. She was about to break up with him, or like she's about to write "You're Losing Me" for any of my Swifties. The point is, I have too many like controversial takes on her. That's why it hasn't happened. That's all I'm saying. So I get cringe too. I'm not judging somebody for loving Disney either. I get it. I get it all. I'm like, we're sitting here fighting with hypothetical Swifties in my head because I know what they would say to some of my takes. But I have receipts, I have evidence, I have it all because I have been following her since she called out Harry Styles at the Grammys in 2013. That was the first time I saw her and I was like, whoa, this bitch is crazy. When she made fun of him and she did one of the worst British accents I've ever heard in my life. But I was like, oh my God, she's a bitch. Like me, I love her. And so ever since that moment, I've been paying attention. That was a long time ago. So just know, I'm an auntie Swiftie. Rant over, period. I get cringe. I get it too. That's the point.
Disney adults. There's a level of cringe they achieve that seems almost part of that DIS order. And so I attempted to connect the two dots.
So often people who have the problem of hinge, especially if severe, remember there's really two different types in my opinion, based on what I've observed. There's a more mild form, which on this channel we call it mid-sized princess toxic ritualistic, and then there's more severe, which is like a tortured level. So there's tortured toxic ritualistic, which the ones that are tortured, so it's like they get to be like super morbidly obese, they're very, very, very obsessive, very, very, very ruminating. Rumination is a major risk factor for this problem. If you are the type to ruminate and you have this problem, it could become very, very severe. So it's becoming obsessed with anxiety, becoming obsessed with things all the time. It puts you at risk for it getting worse. So just be very careful if you're that way. And it is a risk factor. It's a sort of neuroticism. And people that have hinge, especially severely, when they try to stop, they'll find themselves getting obsessed with something or starting to be super obsessive about something else, like a TV show, or like for me, it was my car or whatever. You become obsessed because it's like your whole brain, especially if you're so severe, it's so like geared towards absolute obsession and repetition and obsession and repetition and repetition, repetition, repetition. It's geared for that because that's how it works. And I do believe that the actual behaviors, they kind of traumatize your brain a little bit, especially because you're dealing with, you're not treating your body right. So I think it actually does cause a little bit of brain trauma, especially if it's really severe. Again, remember I'm talking about severe, which a lot of the people that Lisa's going to show, they're severe. So that's why I'm talking about it specifically, because it might not resonate with every single person that has hinge. But those that are bad are like particularly severe, it is relevant. And obsessiveness is a trait. And it's so much so a trait that one of my pieces of advice to get you to stop binging is to find a safe obsession. Like I got into horror movies so much in 2024 during my tortured era. I had a moment over the summer that year where I became absolutely obsessed with the Saw series, and I was trying to figure it out. And it is like, for those of you guys who don't know the Saw series, it is one of the most convoluted, ridiculous plot lines. There's like so many movies. And I had this conversation with Eric one time, and we sat down and talked for like almost 2 hours about Saw and trying to put all the pieces together. And we both kind of realized it just isn't written that well, and it doesn't actually make sense. But I mean, it's not hinging, you know? So my mom, she became obsessed with the After series. And she's like, I'm just so obsessed with it. Oh my God. I was like, just be obsessed with it. Who cares? Be obsessed with The Summer I Turned Pretty. Who cares? You know, it's like, typically that actually can help you to, it can help you stop. So, because there's this feeling of shame of like, oh my gosh, I'm so obsessive. You know, it's like, gosh, when I was downsizing, honey, like I was super obsessed with Taylor Swift. Like, oh my gosh, you know, it was crazy. I practically could only speak in Taylor lyrics, you know, in 2023, like, especially dealing with a breakup. Oh my gosh, you guys know, Swifties know. Taylor's the breakup queen. But I'm just saying, honey, like, we got a lot going on. Like, you got to work with what you got. And even with me, when I obsessed over, does my car have a problem? Does my car have a problem? It's better than obsessing over hinging and food. So if you are a Disney person, it'd be better for you to be a cringe Disney adult than to hinge, is my point. So find that outlet, you know. Over time, you can, like, as you get healthier physically, your brain heals because you don't do the behaviors. You can start to become a little bit less obsessive, or you can find more balance. But honey, you're probably just an obsessive person, and that's okay. You know, on this channel, we abide by obsessive pride. I'm a Scorpio rising. You want to talk obsessive? You want to talk about obsessive? Talk about Scorpio. It's obsessive. Obsessed. Okay. And I got Virgo Jupiter too, which is also obsessive. So when they're together, it's like, whoa. By the way, my mom has Scorpio and Virgo in her too, and she's super obsessive too. And she has the problem. Watch out, Astro Girlies and Boilies. Anyways, okay, let's continue.
And now we are approaching 500,000 views. Maybe by the time I post this, it'll be 1 million. I don't know. I think the most I ever got on Twitter was like 4 million views, but
crazy.
We'll see what happens. Okay. So this is the video. And let's watch the video first so you can see what I'm dealing with. The sound is going to be off because they're playing a Lady Gaga song in the background. And I don't want to get demonetized over this video. So just, you know, bear with me a little bit. Just a little bit. And she's dancing. She's dancing. It's Disney adults doing dance moves. Some are better than others. Some of them know what they're doing. Some have never danced in their life. And I don't say that to be mean. I just say that we saw that woman's skirt, right?
Yeah, some of them are very...
Yeah, so anyways, they're doing it. They're doing dance thing. And
you can tell they're severe. I'll put it to you that way. Visual assessment, you can tell. These are not mid-sized princesses, okay? This is severe.
My friend was like, what is with this cringe behavior? And why does it seem that so many Disney adults, because not all, seriously, not all Disney adults, but a lot, are very super morbidly obese, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to find out. I wrote this essay, and I'm going to attempt to keep my name out of it. Like, yeah, if you want to find me, you probably can. You probably can find me on here just by searching this stuff. Not that I'm going to help you any further than this, but like I said.
So I'm going to try to keep my commentary short, but I'm going to comment on each paragraph she wrote.
Code of silence, guys, okay? Code of silence. Let's keep this between us. But let's talk about how it went viral for this on here. And then the people who had things to say. So, like, this is me in response to the video. I'm going to have to cut out some words. X is not as like serious about this as YouTube is, and I might have to go through and like who knows if this video will be monetized, but like, can they read text? I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna do my best to do this. I was one of the rare people to have gained a lot of weight who didn't have a but I would estimate 99% of people who make it to this size have that particular DIS order. And no, this isn't food addiction. Food addiction doesn't actually exist. Is a type of toxic ritualistic behavior where you trap yourself in a cycle of overindulgence and use external stimuli and internalize trauma to keep yourself there. Let me explain.
Yeah. So this first paragraph, when she said food addiction doesn't actually exist, that really pissed people off. So this belief, I will say, or this idea of food addiction, it is not anywhere near fact at all. So people have extreme convictions about something that is not proven or whatever. It's highly, highly debated. I am very much on the side that it does not exist, as I don't know any addiction where there's like a self-limiting principle where you have to stop. That's at least not my view of an addiction. I also don't know an addiction where you're not actually high. You don't actually feel high. So no, typically when you have a huge moment, we will just say you feel horrible after. You feel a lot of shame. You feel embarrassed. You feel really ill. You don't feel good. And it's not the same thing. It's not the same brain pathways. It is a mental illness rather than a physical addiction, which the reason why I'm such a bitch about it is because treating it like an addiction is not going to help the problem. It's just not. So it's going to reinforce the problem. Why? Because addiction does not take into account the reductive side of the problem, which that is a part of it. So if you view it as an addiction, you will think that there is no way to be overly reductive, which is very wrong, and it will keep the cycle going. So that's why I'm a big bitch about it. I don't know. I think the reason why people are so obsessed with food addiction, I used to think it was food addiction. Like, I have journal entries from high school where I said I was a food addict, but I was never further from recovery than when I believed that. So if it worked, I'd be all for it, but it doesn't. And typically people just stay in the battle forever. I don't battle anything other than boredom at this point, which, whew, that is rough. That's partly why I'm doing the January videos, because you guys are going to help me with my anhedonia, being in maintenance. Being in maintenance, it's so much less stimulating than this years long cycle of downsizing. And it's just boring. I'm going to talk about it. I have a video coming up. I'm going to talk about it because I think that's why a lot of people regain when they go into maintenance. It's through extreme boredom and anhedonia, feeling numb, feeling nothing after reaching maintenance. And you just want to eat a lot to feel something, basically. So I just want you guys to be aware of that, especially if you're coming from a big size, because if you're aware of it, because it kind of feels subconscious, if you're aware of it, then you won't overeat and you won't regain, which is my goal in telling you that. But the point is, that's the only thing I battle. Like, I don't have a battle. I don't battle food. And you wouldn't either if you would stop obsessing over it, because it's more of an obsession. And again, there's two other aspects to it too. There's the mirror, and then there's being overly reductive, which that has to do with types of food or amount, or both. Okay? All right.
There are several moral issues that reside within this disorder, and I am sure you can guess what a few of them are. Lack of personal responsibility, lack of great ability to engage in hard work, and of course, overindulgence. However, there is one core moral issue that reinforces the DIS order above all others, and that is pathological lying.
So that it's interesting to frame it in a moral way, which that did piss off a lot of people too. I think it can be viewed morally. I think that everything she says is true in this paragraph. I think there is a lack of personal responsibility in Hinge. There is a lack. I would say I don't know if I agree with a lack of grit because the actual problem itself is a lot of work. But I would say there is a lack of perspective or a lack of logic, basically, which Lisa is so logical as a person. It's hard for her to like understand what it's like to just be illogical, but it's more so a lack of logic. It's not really a lack of hard work because the problem is a lot of work. It's a lot of working to get the food. It's work to be that size. It's work to gaslight yourself on a daily basis. All that stuff is a lot of work. So I could see people that have the problem being like, what? But everything I do is so hard. And it's like, yeah, it is. But the lack of personal responsibility is 100% true. That's true. It's always some outer force, some destiny, there's something out there that's making me this way. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. And it's like, but it is you because it has to do with you're not dealing with the trauma that you have, especially if you're tortured. You have something that happened typically. I don't think that it can really be that severe unless there's something happened to you. And it's usually something that happened that causes a lot of rumination. So it's something traumatic that you think about it over and over and over again. And then you'll do anything not to think about it again. So that's basically where it's born, especially within Hinge, I will say, because so much of Hinge is rumination. But yeah, I would say perhaps a lack of grit to do the hard work to get out. That's where I could see what she's saying, and that's where I would agree with. But I do think a lot of people are also delusional about the fact that they have the problem, and they will fight like hell to defend it. And you'd be shocked. You could get a fat person to yell in a heartbeat. Just think of Amberlynn Reed. If we were having a real conversation with Amberlynn Reed about it, she'd start shouting. She'd start crying. She'd start screaming. Like, people don't understand. Like, it's very serious to people that are severe. So, yeah. So, I'm sure Lisa got so much hate from people. But, yeah. I'd say possibly lack of grit or lack of hard work to get out of the problem. That can be true. And overindulgence, yes. Overindulgence, and also like it's a fear of, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of like when I used to, and I was keto. And it's like, I'd be like, it doesn't matter because I'm not having carbs with this, so it doesn't matter. Like, you think of it that way. And I know a lot of people are vegan, so they'll be like, it doesn't matter, I'm not having any meat. So I'm going to be okay. So it's like, it's overindulgence, but it's also not. Because people will also like, you'll find, like, I remember when I was in the problem, I'd be like, I don't want to eat fruit because I have to have this, but it's like I really wanted fruit. And I was like, I'm not going to have it because I'm going to have this. You see? So it is overindulgence, but it's in a very specific way that's specifically designed to keep a person unsatisfied. So it's almost like it's like a half overindulgence. It's bizarre. It's really weird. But that's like some, deep, like I'm pulling it out from the depths of the problem type of shit. You know what I mean? Like I don't think people would know that. I don't think Lisa's going to know that because she doesn't have it. So but overindulgence is a part of it, but there has to be some kind of reductive side to it. Otherwise there's no game. It's a game. Which she does get into it, which is interesting. We'll get into that soon.
How much you're eating. You hide food so others cannot see how much you intend to eat. Mm-hmm. You eat in secret. You say you had a stressful day or haven't eaten at all. So that is why you're eating more at this meal.
Yes. which that could be a lie.
Used as a cover when you're around others. The lying isn't just about food, however. You also lie about why you're obese in the first place. I have PCOS. I have hypothyroidism. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Yes. So it is typically about how it's not your fault or how it's just so crazy that you're this big. And the thing is it's kind of like, it's like being a politician. You know, it's that same quality. That's why I think so many in Hinge go towards religion or politics. It's very much, it's very political in a sense that it's like you're on a campaign and you have to answer questions and you have to like blame shift and like talk about something irrelevant, and you know what I mean, like what politicians do. You have to act that way because you can see the problem. Everybody can tell. So how do you actually convince people that you're not eating so much? You have to like lie, gaslight, come up with bullshit, dodge the questions. You have to do all the stuff that politicians do. And so, and then you blame everything else. So I have this condition, there's this problem I have, or it's the patriarchy, it's the devil, it's the government, it's something, but it isn't you. It's not you. And typically people don't want to accept blame because they feel so, there's such a feeling of guilt. So it's kind of like a pathological lying out of guilt and anxiety. So it's like, I'm so ashamed that I'm doing this, so I have to lie and say that I'm not. Because if you were to know what I do, I'm just a horrible person. I'm just a horrible person because I do this. And you have to understand that if you have the problem, that's manipulation. That's a manipulated emotion. So you're stirring up and twisting your own feelings of guilt, similarly to how you'll twist your political or religious views. You'll twist things. And I had to really like redevelop my relationship with all of these things, with guilt, shame, my political and religious views. I had to completely change how I engage with that stuff. I had to change, like, it's like you use all these things so often within the problem that when you leave it, you have to reevaluate your relationship. And I do think that this is specifically for Hinge and specifically if it's severe, but there can still be shades of this in people that have Hinge. But it's like you really have to also like look at your relationship to vanity, to ego, to shame, to pride, to all these things, because they all become twisted. And I feel like this year I finally got past that. Like I feel like I view vanity weight normal. I feel like I view my ego normally. I feel like I view my political and religious beliefs normally. And certain things like that. Like I don't, it's like, I don't know. It's almost like you exaggerate certain positions that you do have, like, but it's all to serve the problem. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it's like you make things like a cartoonish version of what it is, but it looks like that to the other person. And it's so hard. Like, the thing about it is it's deception. All of it is deception. All of it. So when Lisa says it's the pathological lying, she's so correct because it's so much lying. And it's you especially lie to yourself. It is so self-deceptive. So you just have to be so, like, when you deconstruct that, if from a severe level, which again, we're talking severity here, you have to rebuild all that. And that's a tortured era. That's a tortured experience. You have to rebuild your relationship to guilt, your relationship to pride, your relationship to your views, your relationship to all the stuff that you used and abused to keep the problem going for God knows how many years. You know? And more than anything, you have to reevaluate your relationship with your body, period. There's so much dissociation that comes into this problem. You will do anything to not feel how your body feels, to the extent that I've heard people that are getting out of the problem, they complain about how I feel so much worse. Oh my gosh, why do I feel worse? And I've told them, I'm like, you don't feel worse. You're just feeling how you actually felt the whole time because you were blocking it out. And people don't understand how powerful the mind can be. But this is a mental illness. And you have to not feel how you feel. Otherwise, you have to stop. Remember that everything you do is so that you will not have to stop. Because if you were to stop manipulating guilt, manipulating your views, ignoring your body, if you were to stop doing any of these things, then you would have to stop hinging. And that's the one thing you never want to do. That's the most holiest writ of the toxic ritualistic, is you never stop, no matter what.
Yes, I am very aware that I, the author here, have had all three of those diseases. But what is the difference? When I found out I had them, I treated them and lost weight. I did not use them as an excuse to go on being fat. This
Exactly.
isn't even getting into how they will often claim to have one or more of these diseases but are not officially diagnosed. Very trust me, bro, health issues. But then if you bring up how their weight must be affecting their health, nah, all my secondary health issues, i.e., joint pain, shortness of breath, high blood pressure, etc., are unrelated to my size. Actually, I am healthy at this size. Just look at my blood work. Yes, they
Yes.
are both fat due to their health, but their fatness doesn't affect their health at the same time. In fact, you will often hear, I am meant to be this size. It's genetic.
Yes. So that shows some of that political manipulation, basically. And I mean political in the sense of, like, it's as if you're on the campaign trail and people are asking you questions and you have to say, well, this is true, but this isn't true, but this is true, but that's not, and this is, and that is, and it's the sugar, and it's the saturated fat, and it's this, it's that, like, people will say all these things. It's the government. It's all of it. People say these things all the time. Well, it's because I'm a woman and I'm told that my looks mean everything, so that's why I'm here. Like, people will say anything, and they'll say whatever it takes to the person they're talking to. Again, it's like a politician. So they know how you are, typically. Gosh, I'm really exposing it now. They know what you believe. So they'll try to find that similarity and then use it to convince you that that's why they're that big. So it's like, I'm sure, like, Allie, for example, Allie is a staunch, like Allie from the Fab Fatties, she's a staunch left-winger. If she was talking to somebody who's more right-wing, and they were talking about this issue, if she probably would talk about how the rich don't want us to be healthy or something. She'd try to find some kind of bridge to get the person off her back, basically. So it'd be the government does it, or the system, something that a right-winger might agree with. She would change it depending on who she was around. I guarantee you. I guarantee you she would. Because we've seen it. The DIS order always goes before everything else. It's the number one belief. It's the number one thing. It's the most important thing to a person like that. So everything else will be thrown in the trash if it means defending that. I guarantee you. And people are always shocked. But it happens. It absolutely happens all the time. I was in it for a long time, I know. So it's bad. It's really bad.
We've heard this before, haven't we, guys?
I'm just going to say it is so much better to just be honest, because, oh my God, it is so much easier to just live now.
Guys, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So how does all of this relate to being what is known as a Disney?
Oh, I have to interrupt again. Sorry, Lisa, but it's also why so many in Hinge talk about authenticity, and I know how real people are, and I care so much about being real. It's because it's a compensation for how much you're fucking lying all the time. It's a compensation. it's a way to make you feel better about what you're doing because you're always lying. And so then you try to be honest, or you might even overshare to compensate for how much you're a fucking liar. Anyways.
Adult. It really is a multifaceted issue, but it is definitely correlated with their lack of personal responsibility is an indicator of failed maturation. People who do not want to take responsibility for themselves are more likely to engage in childlike behavior, tantrums,
True.
selfish actions, again, overindulgence, and of course, obsession with things meant for children. Now, let me be clear. I think you can be an adult and enjoy going to Disney. I think you can be a single and childless adult and enjoy going to Disney. I certainly did the 4 times or so that I went. Guys, I got like 4 lightsabers, it's true. But there is a difference between eating a slice of cake on your birthday and making your whole life about
Yeah.
cake. Now, here's where we really get into the weeds of why Disney is a part of the toxic ritualistic reinforcement of As I said, people with this DIS order will often use external stimuli in order to justify their overindulgence. I walked so much today. I need to eat extra. I'm on vacation.
1,000%. She's clocking the tea. Clock that tea, sis.
It's okay to let loose here. Ouch, I stubbed my toe and I need ice cream to make myself feel better. And then, of course, we reinforce some more with the lying. I never eat this much at home. I'm really treating myself today.
Yes. Yes to everything, especially and then it's that whole thing of, well, when I go to Disney, I can eat whatever I want because I'm at Disney. So it's kind of like that. It's like Christmas every day at Disneyland, right? It's like Thanksgiving every day. It's like you have an excuse. So it's actually, to a lot of those people, it is about the food in and of itself. And it's about the ultimate toxic ritualistic fantasy, which is to be able to engage in the problem without judgment. That's the fantasy. So they feel that they can go there, and that's why they also get defensive if they are judged for going to Disney. But they'll be like, you're making this about, they'll make it about them going to Disneyland when it's actually about the massive amount of that they're doing there.
As for the internalized trauma piece, why do you think they're overeating in the first place? It is to tamp down the anxiety they are experiencing without having to deal with whatever caused that anxiety in the first place. That is why the external stimuli is needed. You take away the stressor, the drama, the excitement, all that is left are your issues staring you in the face. And the more you don't deal with them, the more issues you've created, which in turn help keep the cycle of reinforcement going. Is a cycle of toxicity meant to reinforce bad behavior, not contend with poor choices, reduce the anxiety around past traumas, but now also the anxiety around one's clearly failing health. If I just keep lying to myself, the problem will go away. If I keep engaging in these stressful behaviors, I can continue overeating. If I keep going to Disney and stay a forever child, I'll never have to deal with the responsibilities of being an adult. It's a lot to take in, but I hope I have enlightened a few of you with what exactly is going on here. And with that, thank you for listening to this rant of mine on fatness. Maybe now you understand why I dislike being super fat so much. It's one thing to have health issues. It's another thing entirely to be associated with these people. People really did not like this at this. They're like, be associated with fat people? I'm like, no, be associated with Disney adults. Disney adults, okay? Okay, I know, like, what's it, Michelle McDaniel? She's like a really huge Disney adult, but I'm like, girl, whatever, you do you. You're allowed to have like your one thing, but like, let's be honest. It's cringe. It's a little cringe, okay? You can have your cringe thing. But yeah, that was basically the rant. Let's talk about the responses that I got.
Oh my gosh.
Now that I'm like 10 minutes into the video, I feel like I've gone far enough that anybody who actually cares about my channel and keeping this vow of silence will see my Twitter name.
On mine, it's even longer.
Keep it to yourself. Okay, this person said, these specific women are unapologetically fat and most likely don't have don't want to be fat and do what they can to keep their size out of the topic of conversation because they're embarrassed. Now, guys, we've watched enough fat fatties on this channel to know that they never keep it out of conversation. Their lives revolve around fatness.
Yes.
Just say you think you're better than fat people now that you're skinny.
No, it's true. So she says people with the problem don't want to be fat and do whatever they can to keep their size out of the topic of conversation. That's not true. So I don't know if this person has the problem. I'm not sure if they do or don't, but it's always vacillating. So one day you're a fat queen and you're amazing and you're the hottest shit in the world, and then the next day you're disgusting and you're horrible and oh my god, I look so horrible and I can't believe how I've actually this and that and the other. And if you get into the physical side of it, it typically has to do with where you're at in your hinge, like where you're at in the cycle. So at a certain point in the cycle, you're like, I'm amazing. I'm the best. And then at another part in the cycle, you're like, I'm horrible. And it usually has to do with the part after you've had a lot. That's when you feel horrible. But before it, it's like, I feel amazing. So you'll see. And then it just kind of like repeats over and over and over again. And it becomes a part of somebody's personality because depending on where they're at in the cycle, they're going to have a certain attitude, especially if you're severe. I have to keep saying that because it takes over your whole personality. Basically, it takes over every aspect of your life. So you see the cycles in like Foodie Beauty. I can add that example to you guys on YouTube where it's like sometimes she's angry and she's like, I'm amazing. Then other times she's like crying and she's feeling sad about somebody, you know, a guy that rejected her. And it's just like a cycle. It has to do with where she's at in the problem. And then you see that with Anna O'Brien as well. She's the amazing inspirational girly pop, but then she's angry and she's mad at everybody and then she's the victim. You know, it's like it depends. It has to do with where they're at in the cycle, which I haven't completely figured it out. I'd have to like really think about it. But I think you tend to feel most shameful after and most sad and stuff after having a lot. Or like when she had her bagel moment, for example. There was something to that, you know. But I think that was more so about the lack of control over the situation. That was triggering. So again, it's so much about control. So much.
Go. And I was like, nothing you said is accurate. Because, guys, I'm not skinny. I still have weight to lose. How you couldn't tell? I mean, why do people talk like this? These people are plus size park hoppers on Instagram. Defo don't hide their size or intake on their page to have the fantasy that they have in your head so you can take both. I don't hate them. I'm just using an example to explain what is and why I think it's correlated with being a cringe Disney adult. Let's find another one. I had so many arguments on here. There's also some people on here who
Yeah, that is really weird to claim that if you quote unquote don't feel shame, then you don't have the problem. You don't know what they feel when they're alone. I mean, come on. It's bullshit. Bullshit. It's almost impossible not to feel ashamed just because you are so prone to being depressed at that size. And depression can, when you get into a depressive spell, you easily can feel ashamed of where you're at. Like there's a reason it's called an overcompensation. Whereas like for me now, I don't care. I really don't. So I am just so neutral about my body at this point. I don't brag about it. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Literally, that's how I feel about my body, which I'd like to be like, oh, yes, totally snatched or whatever. But I'm not. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. But I don't have to put a feeling there that doesn't exist. Like, I'm just like, whatever. To me, I'm just auntie. You know, I look like auntie. But it's also like, I'm in my 30s. Like, I don't know. If I look at my cohorts, like, does everybody look snatched in their 30s? No. Which I'm not trying to like encourage comparison, but I'm just saying like standards are a little different when you're older too. So it does change kind of how you view about yourself a little bit too. Like if I was in high school, it'd be hard still, I think. But it's like I don't know. Being average is something else. I'll put it to you that way. It is such a vacuum. Maybe I would still feel the same way in high school. I don't know. I wasn't average in high school, so I have no clue. I was huge in high school, so I don't know. But it's an interesting thought exercise anyway.
are like, they're like, just lose weight. And I'm like, I'm not talking about myself. Like they like literally just have no reading comprehension. No matter the device, in this case, food is generally a coat for a larger issue. I'm like, that's literally what I talked about in here. I'm like, did you even read this? The whole point of DIS order is denial of responsibility. People just are crazy. This person retweeted me and they were like, food addiction does exist. And I'm like, it's not recognized medically. She tried to argue that it was. She's like, it's literally in DSM-5. And I'm like, show me where it is. And I linked
It's not
this.
there.
And she's like, it's on page 350. And I read this page like, guys, like read this with me. I read this page like 3 times. I had friends read it. I'm like, where is the word addiction? Let's read through it together. Recurrent episodes of this. An episode of this is characterized by both of the following. Actually, you know what, guys, we can't read through this because it's gonna get my channel demonetized. Anyways, I was like, highlight where it lists food addiction, and then she's like talking like, I don't know why you're concerned with semantics. I'm like, because words mean things.
Yeah, words also mean things medically.
I don't know why it's so difficult. And she's like, but you wrote an entire thesis on this. And I was like, well, why shouldn't I? It's an interesting topic. People are crazy. This other woman, she's like, congratulations or sorry that it happened to you. I didn't read and all that. She didn't read it all. But she got mad at me for it. I'm like, it didn't happen to me. I don't have that. Wow. And she's like, you sure have a lot to say. I'm like, yeah, I do. I have a lot to say. I was once fat. For someone who doesn't deal with that, I'm like, because I love this. This is one of my favorite things to have, like, to link under people's comments on Twitter. Kim, there's people that are dying. I mean, like literally people that are dying. And that's not funny. I'm funny because this conversation is funny, but people dying, not funny. Lots of cursing at me, saying I'm shaming fat people. I didn't shame people for being fat. I shame people for pathological lying and poor behavior. They just happen to be fat as a result of that. And she's like, shaming is still shaming. And I'm like, here's the thing, guys. Not all shaming is bad, right? Like, not all shaming is bad. We need to go back to that, okay? Let's bring back a little bit of healthy shaming. And
well, I don't think there's anything wrong with shaming the mindsets, the behaviors, that kind of stuff. Like I said, what isn't as helpful is shaming appearance, which Lisa did not at all. She's talking about mindset. She's talking about behaviors like lying, for example, which, yes, abso-fucking-lutely. Lisa, so much lies, especially when you're severe. It is just wild how much you will spin things. But yeah, you know.
And for what they look like, I'm just pointing out that there is a very strange behavior that they're exhibiting, and it appears to be correlated with what is likely the reason for why they are overweight. And this person gets it. Like, the pathological lying is an interesting one. I wouldn't have thought of it, but I recently started watching a couple episodes of my 600-pound life, and I haven't seen an episode go by where the subject doesn't lie about their eating to Dr. Now at least once. Exactly. Exactly. Because here's the thing, guys.
Oh, 1 second.
How did those people get so large? Like, some of the women in that video, clearly 500 pounds. Clearly 500 pounds, at least.
Yeah.
And you guys all know how much I used to weigh. And I've lost a lot of weight, and I'm still losing weight. And most of my weight is on my butt and my thighs, which is why up here I look mostly normal. I mean, I have, like, some of my arms are a little bit large. Wearing my Christmas sweater. But, like, I still, like, have a lot of weight in my butt and my thighs. I know what it's like to be quite large. One thing I never did, though, when I was that large was lie about why I was that large. I often said, I don't know. And one day I found out, oh, you have PCOS. I'm like, well, okay, well, I'm going to start trying to treat that. But it wasn't helping. So I was like, okay, kept looking. Oh, you have hypothyroidism. Okay, treat that. And we're going to keep looking.
And Lisa was not producing. She needed medication. If you're not producing, you need medication. With hypothyroidism, there can be issues of production and issues of utilization. So sometimes you're not producing because you don't have enough ingredients. So, like, if you're overly reductive, for example, it will cause it. But other times you could have like autoimmune issues or whatever. There's so many different things, like Hashimoto's, for example, that's an autoimmune problem. So there are different reasons you could have it, and some of them do require thyroid medication, others don't. For example, if you're exhibiting hypothyroid symptoms because you drink like a fish and you're having so much estrogen from the alcohol and it's canceling out your body's internal thyroid hormone, then you got to stop the drinking. If you're massively obese, if you're super morbidly obese, then that estrogen is being formed in that fat, and that can make you hypothyroid. Or if you're fatty liver, then you can have issues with converting the thyroid hormone because the liver converts it to the usable form. So that's another way you can have hypothyroidism, is liver issues, which that's how I believe I primarily had it, was through fatty liver, which fatty liver is highly correlated with hinge. Why? Because you are eating so much so quickly, and it causes a fatty liver. Okay? And that's why my hypo's better, because I can utilize it better. So hypothyroidism is a nuanced thing, but it's also, Lisa needed medication is my point. She had to be treated. So that's a thing. But again, there are natural ways to deal with hypothyroidism. There are other ways to deal with it. You need to figure out what works for you. You can also have an issue where, like, if you take a thyroid medication and your liver is messed up, if it's not the right kind of thyroid medication, it will not convert. And so it's like you're unmedicated. So again, it's not as simple as taking a pill. You have to look at your whole system when it comes to hypothyroidism. Please look at everything that you're doing. And if you have fatty liver, you have to get rid of it. It is like, oh my gosh, you are hypo if you have fatty liver, period. You can't convert the hormone. You can't convert it. You can't use it. So again, people don't think about it correctly. But in Lisa's case, she literally wasn't producing. So she needs to take medication, which I believe she takes Armour Thyroid. And it helps. So you got to look at that stuff. But again, if you have every single symptom of hypothyroidism, but you're producing, C, fatty liver, C, super morbid obesity, C, alcoholism, C, overtraining, C, not eating enough nutrition, C, all these other reasons that you could have it, which again, that's why people that are overly reductive will also be hypo, because you have to have the building blocks for the hormone or you won't produce it. Okay? It's a lot.
Keep trying, keep looking. Kept getting injured. Turns out I had hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And guys, once I got all three of those things under control, I was able to start losing weight. Mm-hmm. But never once did I lie to myself or others about why I was overweight. It was confusing for sure, but it wasn't lying. But yeah, I'm glad I could give you guys a little bit of an insight into what I've been dealing with on X. It's a lot easier for me to write essays than it is for me to film YouTube videos. I know you guys like to listen to me talk and do these reactions and stuff. I'm definitely going to be doing more of them, especially, now that I have a couple weeks off of work right now. So I'm going to be filming some more videos. So stay tuned for that. I have some time to do so. But typing all that out, guys, it took me 10 minutes. 10 minutes to write that entire essay. Writing for me is way more natural than it is speaking like this. And if you go back to my really early videos, which are so cringe and so bad, I had to start somewhere.
I don't think they were bad.
How far I have come.
They were not that bad.
So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video.
All right.
Let me know what you think down below. If you're
alrighty. So yeah, I appreciate this a lot, Lisa. Thank you so much. I hope it was enlightening to you guys. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow. I get to say that forever and ever and ever now. Oh my gosh. What have I signed up for? I'll talk to you guys later. Talk to you later.